Good morning, all of you. Yeah, we are discussing about Docker containers. We have seen multiple options that come with the Docker. One is -D to run the containers in detached mode, and we have -E stands for environment to pass environment variables to the application, and we have -name to name a container, and we have IT option to interact with the container terminal. Then we have -P to perform automatic port mapping. We have -p where we will explicitly mention the port of the Docker host, and this is the container port. Okay, these options we have explored. Then we have also played with different container and image commands like docker start, docker stop, docker rm, docker rmf, docker rmi, docker system prune -a. So all these commands we have seen. Docker exec it commands to interact with the container. We have seen all those commands. So yesterday we have seen that in the latter part of the session, yesterday what we have seen, we have created two containers. One is Ubuntu 1 and the one is Ubuntu 2. This is Ubuntu 1, Ubuntu 2. And this this container has got some IP address 2.169.0.1, let's say. And let's say that we have another container called Ubuntu, and this container got IP address this one. And what we have done is we entered into Ubuntu 1 and we have performed ping. If we do ping, if we ping Ubuntu 2 with its IP address, we are able to successfully ping it. That means there is a communication between this and this. And at the same time, we entered into Ubuntu 2 terminal and pinged this IP address, and that is successfully working. But what happened when we tried to ping using host name? Host name is nothing but the container name. In this, ping failed in this scenario. Okay, so, and one more important thing is that this ping, which just working with the IP address, but not with the host name, that is not important. What I'm telling, IP addresses have no significance in the world of containers. Always we should have some reliable name. We should have some reliable service name to establish communication between and among various containers. That can be done only with the name of the containers. In Kubernetes, you will see that clearly. Okay, so as of now, if you are not doing anything, by default, they are communicating with each other through their IP addresses, but not with their container names or the host names. Okay, so how to make this connection using host names? For that, there are two ways. One is link command is there, and advanced to link is network is there, and we have Docker compose, where in this also we create multi-container architecture. There also we have to use -link or the Docker compose. Okay, multi-container architecture means we will run multiple containers and we will establish communication between them. So that can be done with the -link option or the network object or Docker compose. Okay, first we will see the link. So link option. Now what we do is, now let's run the same setup. Now let's run the same setup. Docker run. Docker run. I want to name that container as Ubuntu 1. Okay, and container name we should give at the end, and we have to interact with the container. If we do this, run command will also perform full activity. Then it will download the image from where? From Docker Hub, and We are interacting with the container terminal. This is what container ID. So now what we do, let's ping. Now let's install ping in the apt install iputils -ping and auto approve. Now what we do is, now we will come out of the terminal, but not container. I want container to be running, but I want to exit from the terminal. For that we use Control PQ simultaneously. Okay, so if you see Docker PS, Ubuntu 1 is running. Now let's run Ubuntu 2 as well. Okay, same command except this container name change. Now apt update, then apt install iputils -ping, then auto approve. Ping google.com. Yes, ping is working, that's fine. Now let's press Control PQ. Okay, Docker PS. Now Ubuntu 1 and Ubuntu 2 is running. Now let's go into Ubuntu 1. For that, Docker exec IT, I want to execute commands in interactive mode in Ubuntu 1 container and terminal. Bash we have to give. Okay, so then here this is the shell. This is the bash shell. We are into the container. Now let's ping Ubuntu 2. What it is saying, name or service is not known. Ubuntu 2 name or service is not known. But now let's try to get the IP address of the Ubuntu 2. For that, I don't want to disturb this situation. So now let's duplicate the session. Login as root user, Docker PS. How to increase this font size? Control N, press Control N simultaneously and scroll your mouse. Okay, so this is how. Now Docker inspect Ubuntu 1. Or what I will do is Docker inspect Ubuntu 1 grep I means instance to case instance of grep for IP. So if you see directly we can get this. So this is the IP address. Now let me open the text editor, notepad. So Ubuntu 1 IP address is what? This one. Ubuntu 2 IP address. How to get that? Same command, use 2 here. Okay, so this is the IP address 0.3. Okay, this is. Now what we do, we are into what? We are into Ubuntu 1. Let's ping Ubuntu 2. It failed. Let's ping Ubuntu 2 with the IP address. What is the IP address? 0.3. See, ping is, it is ping. That means there is a proper communication. There is a communication between Ubuntu 1 to Ubuntu 2. If we go inside Ubuntu 2 and ping Ubuntu 1 with the IP address, we will be able to ping. But if you ping Ubuntu 1 with the Ubuntu 1 name, you won't be able to ping. Okay. So how to make this pingable? How to make the host name pingable? Host name in the sense the container name will act as the host name in the containers. Now what I do, Control PQ, Docker PS. Now what I will do is, now let's remove this containers. Docker PS -AQ. Now I want to establish the connection with the host names also. For that, what I will do is, we have a option called link. Docker run name Ubuntu Ubuntu 1 Ubuntu 1, then interact with it, then what's the image name? Ubuntu. This is fine. Control PQ. Now I want to run another container called Ubuntu 2, and I want to establish a link between these two containers. For that, we have the option called -link. Okay, so if I do this, okay, so how do we do that? In this, we have to use -link. I want to link this Ubuntu 2 with Ubuntu 1. So in link, we have to write what? Ubuntu 1. So if I do this, Control PQ, okay, Control PQ, Docker PS, 2 containers are running. Now let's go into Ubuntu 2. Docker exec it into Ubuntu 2. Okay, will also provide. Now ping Ubuntu 1. Ping is not installed. So this ping. Now let's go here and get the IP addresses. Now give IP address of Ubuntu 1. It's again 2.0.2, and for Ubuntu 2 this is 0.3. That's fine. Okay, same IPs were assigned. Now we are into what? We are into Ubuntu 2. Now let's ping Ubuntu 1. Okay, so if it is pinging, there is no surprise in that, because by default they will be pinging with the IP address. Now let's ping with the host name, that is Ubuntu 1. What is happening? Now this time ping is working. That's fine. Okay, so it is able to successfully communicate with the Ubuntu 1 with the host name. That is achieved using -link option. So now what we do is, now Control PQ, Docker exec it into Ubuntu 1. Okay, so Ubuntu 1, then apt update, apt install iputils -ping. Now we are installing this ping in Ubuntu 1. Ping Ubuntu 2 with the IP. Okay, it is ping. Now ping Ubuntu 2. What it is saying? Name or service is not known. Okay, so this link is established only with this. If we use a link, okay, if we use link, what happened? If we want to link Ubuntu 2 with the Ubuntu 1, what is happening? Only Ubuntu 2 is able to communicate with the Ubuntu 1 with the host name, but not other way around. Ubuntu 1 is not able to communicate with the Ubuntu 2 with the host name. Okay, that is fine. For that, we have to establish another link, but this link is deprecated. We have advanced concept called network. Okay, advanced concept called network. So before understanding this, let's understand this link. some examples. Okay, so anyway, we have done that using this. So here, what we are trying to do is, here we are running a busybox container. Busybox container from busybox image, and the busybox one is the container name I want to give. What is busybox? It's a lightweight Linux machine. Okay, uh, busybox, busybox Linux. So Unix utilizing a single executable file. Okay, so busybox Docker image. Go to up.docker.com. You can see the description of that. Okay, this is. So what is busybox? Coming in somewhere between 1 and 5 MB, very small size. busybox is a very good ingredient to craft space efficient distributions. Means any versions of many, some basic Linux utilities will be there. Okay, you can read about it's a Linux machine only, nothing more than that. But it's very lightweight one. So this is, we want to interact with that busybox. Okay, then what we are doing, we are using Control PQ to exit from the terminal, but not the container. Now we are running second busybox container. This is the busybox 2. What we are doing, we are linking this busybox 1 to this busybox 2. Okay, this is how we will write it, and we will give some alias name here. Okay, so we are linking this busybox 2 with the busybox 1 and some alias name. It is some different name we are giving to this link. So this is the name we are giving. So this means what? Meaningfully, we can say that this link is nothing but connecting this busybox 2 with the busybox 1. Some alias name we are giving. Okay, we are doing that. Now, if we ping, then what will happen? Then this busybox 2 can ping busybox 1 with the host name of the busybox 1. What is the host name of the busybox 1? The busybox 1 itself is the host name of the busybox 1. And alternatively, we can ping using this alias name as well. Okay, so now let's quickly see that. But again, we have to install utils, IP utils, and all those things. That's fine. You can practice that. I have shown you in detail how to do that. Okay, so this is just alias name. If you don't give also, that's not a problem. Okay, then now let's do one thing. Now the use case is something like this. Anyway, we don't use this in production friends, but better to have idea about all these things. Always we use Kubernetes to deploy the applications in the form of containers. But to understand Kubernetes, it is good to understand the Docker. But in that Docker also, if you understand this, that is fine. Okay, but in real time, we don't use this at all. Now what we are doing is, we are starting MySQL as a container. Okay, so now let's do this. We are starting MySQL database, as a container. Okay, so I want to name that container as what? MyDB. Now this will become the host name, right? The container name itself is the host name. So what's the container name? Container name is MyDB. Okay, so then start MySQL as a container and link it with the WordPress container. Okay, we have seen MySQL individually, we have seen WordPress individually. Now what we are trying to do is, we want to establish a link between these two containers so that WordPress will be able to connect and utilize the MySQL database. We will see that. So Docker run, I want to run a container. I want to name that container as MyDB. And from which image I want to create this container? I want to create the container using MySQL, and :5 is the tag of that particular image. If you don't give anything, :latest will be the default one. If you just give MySQL, and if you don't give :5, then by default it will be :latest. We will understand that during tags and image creation process. That's fine. Now, okay, this is the container name, and I want to run that in detached mode, and I want to pass the environment variable to the application. This is the variable, and this is the value I want to give. Okay, now what we'll do is now let's remove all the containers that are already there. Docker rmf or else only two containers are there, right? So Docker rm, you can give the container name, space, or container ID or container name, anything you can give. You cannot remove a running container. So first what we have to do, we have to stop it. So, or we can forcibly, we can use -f. It will be forcibly stop and remove the containers. Docker ps. Docker ps -a also we will see. Okay, there are no stopped container, everything is clear, but still our images will be there because we did not touch the images. Now what we do is, now let's run this MySQL database as usual in a container. See, MySQL database running. What's the container name? This is MyDB. These are the ports. Its status is up 5 seconds ago, and this is created 6 seconds ago. That's fine. Now imagine if you want to install MySQL database, normally how much time it will take? But using container, within less than 1 minute only, we are able to successfully bring up the MySQL database. Okay, and anyway, so in order to make use of this database, okay, we should have what? We should have the database name, username, password, database host name, or the database public IP address, generally at the URL of the database. These are the main things that we require in order to make use of the container database. So now what I will do is, so this is the database that is running. Now I will start WordPress. WordPress, what is WordPress? It's a front-end application, and it will be using some database details we have to provide. Okay, so then why Vinayak, why your name is appearing here? I just wanted to know that. I think I have shared this document with you earlier. That's fine. Okay, so now we are starting WordPress container. Now we are starting WordPress container. And this container, I want to name that as my site. You can name whatever you want, okay? But here in my documentation, I have given this as my site. My site is the container name. So now this my site, which is nothing but a WordPress container, WordPress application will be running here. Inside this MySQL database will be running. Okay, so now this WordPress requires database, and I want to give this database to this. For that, what I have to do? I have to link this WordPress with the MySQL database, so that it will connect to the database and it will make use of that. So for that, we have to use what? Link command. Okay, link. So docker run. I want to run a container. I want to name that container as my site. I want to execute the containers in detached mode. I want to perform manual port mapping. So this is the WordPress default port, and this is the Docker host port I want to give. And now see what is happening. I want to link this my site, link this my site content with the my DB. Okay, for that hyphen link, I want to link with the my.db, and this is some alias name we are giving MySQL. Okay, so now this is what the image name, image that we want to use to create this container. So now let's execute this. So please do remember that if we are using link means, so then this my site can ping my.db with this name or with this name. This is the alias name. Okay, we can utilize this as well. Okay, so this is the, so now if we go inside my site, and if we install ping, some vendor is going roadside, so some disturbance is coming. Hyphen link my site will talk to my.db with the my.db. This is my.db what? Host name or the container name. Now let's try to execute this command. Okay, so now we come Docker PL. See, both of these are running. So now let's check whether this is able to communicate with this. Not this, we have to come here. My site is able to, these are the images. Okay, so once the content is running, we don't need to worry about these names. Now because we have used a link, my site will now can connect to my.db with the host name. We go inside my site, and if we install ping there, and if we use ping my.db, then that should be responding. Okay, that's fine. Now let's access this. What we have done, we have also performed port mapping. What is the port of this WordPress? That is the 5050. This is the Docker host port, and this is the container port. The traffic will be routed to the container on port 80. So let's copy the public IP address of this. Excuse me, friends. This WordPress should be running. If it is not running, then some problem with our commands. What happened to this? Okay, let me go to security. We have to allow the traffic. So as of now, let me keep all the traffic anywhere from any IPv4 address. Yes, Viras is saying HTTP. Yes, we can use HTTP. We can open HTTP port, but I want to open all the ports. So that is immediate. It will take immediate effect with that security groups. So if I refresh this, I should be able to run the WordPress. So now I'm choosing English, then continue. So welcome to WordPress. Before getting started, you will need to know the following items. One is database name, database username, database password, database host. Database host in our case is what? MyDB. This MyDB will become the host, will be pingable from this. Why? Because we have used hyphen link. Okay, so let's go here. Database name, so MySQL is the default database. Username is what? Root is the username. Password is Laxman that we have provided through environment. Database host. What is the host? The database host is nothing but this container name itself will act as the database host. Now click on submit. See, all right, Spark, you have made it through this part of the install. WordPress can now communicate with your database. We are ready to go on installation. This is how we have established a connection between WordPress and MySQL database. Fine. And now so this is the LAMP architecture. We can use directly. So here, because we don't use all these things in the real time, but I have taught how these things are working. So now let me skim through this. So I want to run a container called mydb using this one. This is the environment variable. I'm assigning the value to it. This is Laxman. Then we are running Tomcat as a container. Okay, Docker run. And what is the name? Name of the container I want to give as Apache detached mode, performing port mapping. I want to establish link between this container and this database. How do we do that? MyDB. And this is alias name. We can use MyDB or MySQL when we are trying to ping this MyDB. Okay, this is what we are doing. So you can do that. Okay, you can do that. Next, we are running a PHP as a container. Here Docker run hyphen name PHP -d, and now I want to establish a link with PHP with Apache. What is Apache? This Apache is nothing but what? This container name. That container name we have to write it. And later I want to give some alias name that is as a Tomcat. If you don't give also, that's fine. And I want to link this with other container as well. What is that container? I want to link this with MyDB as well. Okay, MyDB, and this is some alias name I am giving. So when we are running some containers, we have to provide the image at the end. Okay, this you practice. That's just what it is. Just this is about link command and advanced. This is link is the old. It's a legacy version. We have network. We will see that network object. We will create the network object. To that network object, we will connect the containers. Okay. So now let's see this. So here what we are doing, we are running Jenkins and we are naming that as a dev server. So Jenkins is the official Docker image of the Jenkins. Now let's. So why to use this much of command? Docker rmf directly I can use my site space MyDB. It will stop and remove those two containers, right? So now I want to run Jenkins and I want to name that as dev server and port is 7070. I want to assign. So with this, Jenkins will be pulled and running. If we want to install Jenkins in general Linux, imagine we have to install JDK there and we have to install the Jenkins. We have to execute multiple commands to get the Jenkins. But using this container, see how quickly we are able to run the Jenkins. If we go to 7070 port, Jenkins will be running happily. Jenkins is started. Now, what we're trying to do, we are trying to run QA server and prod server. For QA server, it's a Tomcat. So now Docker run. I want to run a container, name it as QA server -d. Okay, this is performing port mapping. We are assigning the same port. Okay, here, and I want to link this with the Jenkins. What is the Jenkins host name? Dev server. So dev server we are giving here. And this is alias name. You don't give alias name also, that's fine. Okay. So this Tomcat will be running. This is the QA Tomcat we wanted to name it as. Okay, 8080, port 8080. Tomcat is running. This is for QA. Okay, so now what we do? Now let's go to this, and this is dev server. Okay, so here we are linking this prod server, which is nothing but a Tomcat server, with again what Jenkins. Okay, and this is some alias name. Let's not use that. This link is already almost deprecated. It's not being used, but let's understand this. So what will happen? With Jenkins, QA server and prod servers are attached. Now, if you go inside and if you want to deploy the application into this, we can directly do that. And one more thing is how to check that. I just wanted to tell you how a link works. A link just works to establish a communication between two containers. Again, we have the network object. Then if you go to this prod server, and if you ping this dev server, then you will be able to ping it. Okay, so docker exec it. Let's go into prod server. Okay, this is the now ping dev server. Ping is not installed. Okay, ping dev server. See, is successfully pinging the dev server. Ping QA server. Will it ping? No, because there is no connection to QA. Only we have linked this prod server with the dev server. Okay, so that is fine. So now docker rmf prod server. Okay, so now let's run this prod server and now give alias name. Alias name I'm giving as Jenkins. Now what I do, docker exec it into prod server. Okay, apt install, apt update, apt ping dev server, that's okay. Ping Jenkins. Okay, so the Jenkins is nothing but the alias name. Okay, to that link we are giving some alias name. Okay, now that dev server can be pingable with the Jenkins, that is the alias name. Okay, that's fine. Now let's remove all the containers. Docker rmf use docker es aq. This generally this -aq will give what? It will give the IDs of the containers. Let me show you that. Not this, you have to echo that. It will give the IDs of the containers. So these things I want to remove. How to remove them? Docker rmf. We don't have the containers. Okay, we have the images, that's fine. Okay, so creating testing environment. Okay, testing environment generally in real time we don't create like this, but let's say we have Selenium and Chrome and Mozilla. So this is how we will be creating that simply. So run hub. Okay, Selenium hub. So this is, and we have to connect this Chrome browser to the Selenium hub. Hub means this is the host name. Then we are giving some that alias name, and this is the image name for Chrome for testing environment. That's fine. Okay, let's not worry about that. That's not at all useful. So now this is very important. All the commands we learn till date are other commands. That means, let's say we have this my site should connect to MyDB. For that, what we have to do? First, we have to create the MyDB. For that, we have to run a command. Then we have to run another command, and in that we have to use a link. What if we have 10 or 15 microservices? We have to run 10 or 15 commands, and wherever necessary, we have to establish the link. But tomorrow, if I want to execute the same environment, for some reason, if it is down, if you want to bring up the exact environment, will it be able to, do we able to get it? No. In executing the 10 or 15 commands, at one or the other point of time, we will miss one or the other thing. So that is not the ideal solution. And these commands can't be version controlled. We can't store the commands in the repository, right? So there should be some declarative approach where we will have some file. Inside file, we will declare whatever things we want. For example, I want to have Jenkins. Okay, and Jenkins, I want to name it as a dev server. This container dev server. Then which image we want to use? Jenkins. Okay, I want to use this. Then we want to have QA server. I want to use which image? I want to use Tommy image. Okay, so I want to establish a link with the Jenkins, that is dev server. Then prod server. Okay, so image I want to use what? Again, I want to use Tommy image. I want to link with this thing. Which one? Again with the Jenkins. So, and if we have some other microservice, okay, let's say payment service. Okay, payment service. For that, we will be using some Docker image here. Okay, Docker image we will be using the ports, the environment section, everything. Instead of executing through single command, if we have the facility to write the things in a file in a declarative way, and if we execute this file, all the specifications which we mentioned, the environment will be up. How beautiful it is. So that is what can be achieved with the Docker Compose. Okay, Docker Compose we will see going forward. But before doing that declarative way, okay, so we should understand other properties also, that also will be used in the Docker Compose. Docker Compose is a YAML file. We will understand that. So other concepts we have to learn. After learning that, then we will go for the Docker Compose. Okay, that's it for today, friends. So if you have any doubts, you can ask me, or else let's wind up this session little early. So I have a call to attend. What's our feedback? How is the classes? Am I going fast? Am I slow? Or is that fine? Or do I need to change anything? So you can advise me. I'm very open-hearted.
Hey Sushant, this sir.
Yes,
Yeah,
Sushant.
this was my first class. Okay, so
Okay,
yeah, I understood most of the thing. Okay, but
okay.
little fast you're going, little. Okay,
Little fast I'm going, right?
yeah, little.
Okay. So the
Actually,
fast where I'm going, yeah.
I was looking at that MySQL installation, the Docker image you downloaded, and you have put that username, password, and all thing, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
so
yes, yes.
that key fields and all you are entering, that is going too fast, right? Like I got that Laxman was the password you, but what was the username? Like how you got the username? That I didn't follow. Like lit-
Okay, definitely. So that time itself, you must have raised your hands. So you can advise me to go slow. So that username, that MySQL Docker image. So that username will be by default. That will be there for that MySQL container. Okay, if you
uh,
go to the documentation, we will see the default username and all.
okay. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So and yeah. Anyway, so I will go little bit slow tomorrow onwards. But what I thought is that because am explaining the things multiple times. For example, this -d command, this command we are doing multiple times, so it's fine to go somewhat faster. Okay, that's fine. Vir is also saying that I should go somewhat slow. That's fine. Definitely, we will
Yep.
go slow. Okay.
No, no, sir. Actually, my concern is you explained multiple times that we understood, but while entering of fields and all thing,
Okay,
you're
got it.
doing you're entering the fields and all thing very fast. Like your typing is very fast.
Okay. I will be slow for sure.
Yeah, yeah. That is the thing. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that.
Thank
That's
you. Thank you.